Over the last 15 years, I've been on a fitness and self-growth journey. And that means a lot of self-improvement and fitness books have been read. Today, I'm going to tell you the 10 that improved my life the most, plus the main lesson and the habit I started thanks to the book. So you know what to add to your Audible reading list this year, or just consider this your quick Spark Note lesson version of it to save yourself time, because you're busy. I know you are. Number 1, yeah, I think you saw this coming. What is the it thing? Self-improvement, wellness, everyone talking about. Let's go together, sleep. And what book specifically inspired this? Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. The main lesson I got from this, sleep is the best performance-enhancing drug available. Obviously, it's not a drug, but the stats of how much getting quality sleep improves your health, mental capacity, performance in sports, it is crazy. And the habit I started implementing the most from this was sleep hygiene. I started building a night routine. Before then, all I knew was a morning routine. That was the only thing that ever crossed my mind. The thought of having a structured night routine just never crossed it. So what is sleep hygiene? It's things I do in my night routine or just during my day that promote a consistent sleep schedule and better quality of sleep. This includes sleeping in a dark room, having a bedroom that's cold, limiting caffeine in the afternoon, workout in the morning, not night, and no social media before bed. This was the turning point that made me realize oh no, the boss babe grind, Gary Vaynerchuk of the 2012s of sleep later, grind. No. First of all, it's not good for you. You're going to die younger. And second, you're actually limiting the next day in your performance capacity. So it's actually not more productive not sleeping. So having sleep hygiene specifically improved my quality sleep, and that improved my emotional health. So that meant less mood swings. It improved my creativity. I'm just more creative daily. It improved my recovery, which allowed me to push myself harder in workouts, which made me fitter in less time. It's almost like I started training less thanks to sleep, but I got better results because I wasn't constantly under-recovered. Before reading this book, I never had a consistent sleep schedule. I was bartending, I would stay up into the late night, grinding, editing videos, whatever the case it was. And I was also very emotionally not stable back then. Still not 100%, but it's a lot better. Number 2, you've probably all read this because you can't be on self-help fitness YouTube and this not be one of them, but Atomic Habits, alternative title to this channel. I have stolen so much from James Clear, so much, because this book is so good. The main lesson from it is your habits dictate everything. And it really teaches you the foundations of how to break a habit, how to build a habit. Our days are just a pile of habits, so we might as well use them to better our life. No, this is pretty meta, but the habits I started, thanks to this book, is now I have the tools to build good habits and the ones to build bad habits whenever I need. So this includes how to build a good habit. First, make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. 2, how to break a bad habit. Make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. And how it improved my life, it just made me realize, constantly reflect on my day, what is adding to my life, what is taking away from my life, and how can I kind of slowly reconstruct my life so it becomes my default. And specifically, it just added habit building protocols into my toolkit that I can kind of use depending on the situation. And here's my habit building toolkit that I stole from this book. First, just learning what a habit is, which you need to know for the rest. A habit is a loop. First, there's the cue for the habit, then there's the craving, then you do the habit, and then there's the reward. And here's the tools I utilize to build / break those. 1, a habit swap. Once a habit loop is established, it's pretty set in stone, but you can swap that habit with something that is a similar craving and reward. 2, habit stacking. Add another habit to a habit you already have. Example, when I sit down for dinner, saying one thing I'm grateful for, because the habit of eating dinner is already there. 3, identity change. Deciding the type of person you want to be. Our old identities can have these limiting beliefs. When a habit is attached to a part of your identity, it's easier to do. 4, build systems instead of goals. 5, never miss twice. This is why I love my 30-day challenges, is it just builds that habit. So a lot of times I'll do something say your habit is going to the gym. Maybe for 30 days you want to get in the habit, go every day. Doesn't mean work out every day. Go to the sauna on one day. Just pop in and get a smoothie one day. But there's something about that. And if you do miss a habit, just say never twice. Because once you do twice, then it's a slippery slope. But there's something mentally about that. It's you can have an off day. Things happen, but just not 2. 3, the life-changing magic of tidying up. People are really? I know. This one, I owe a lot to this one. So fun fact, this was actually the first self-help book I ever read that really got me into the journey of self-improvement, bettering myself in all aspects, not just trying to get a really big juicy booty. And the reason, Keltie, why'd you pick this? It was free on Audible. Yep, back in the day, I think it was 2012 or whenever it was, it just came free with Audible. So I read it. because I was broke in college. And what's the main lesson I got from this? Just, I didn't realize the burden and weight stuff can have on you when you have excessive things. I didn't come from much growing up. So anything you have, you always want to save for a rainy day. You like, the thought of giving up any stuff was like scary. A very scarcity mindset. Because if I thought if I gave anything, I might never ever be able to get it back. I still hoard Starbucks points, thinking one day I'll go broke and at least I have my Starbucks points to eat for a week. Like I'm learning, but this was one of the steps to help with that. And the habit I built because of this. At the time, it was an identity shift. I started calling myself a minimalist. This I changed very shortly after, but we'll talk about that in book 5. But it really did help me break free of the guilt I felt of letting go of things and how it doesn't make me sadder. It actually leaves more room for joy by letting go of stuff and clutter. I actually later on realized it wasn't about being a minimalist or that everything has to spark joy. Rather, I'm in a place now where I think, do things bring me joy or do they just improve my life in some way? Like, guess what? My garbage can doesn't bring me joy, but I need it. How it improved my life. At the time I read this, I'd moved all my belongings from Edmonton to Halifax. This opened my eyes of just how much crap I had. And when it was all boxed up, I didn't even realize it. Like, there were so many things that when I first moved and didn't unpack that I didn't even realize I had. Like, I completely forgot about. So clearly they weren't that important and I could live without them. And this was my eye-opening idea of fast fashion. Because back in the day, that's all I could afford. Secondhand things or really cheap Forever 21 H&M things. So I just had hordes of trendy fast fashion things. And this was the thing, like, I love fashion, I love creativity, but it really started me examining my own relationship with fashion. So I decluttered my closet as much as possible, sold everything I possibly could, which didn't account for much because it was just a lot of really used Forever 21 products. And I did have a few Lululemon items, so actually that was pretty much all the money I made. But then I took all the money I took from like selling most of my closet just to buy like a very few quality things. Now back then I think I bought like a pair of, Levi jeans and like a new Lululemon jacket. Like that's all I could afford with it. But so I would be able like, whoa, instead of having all this junk that I don't really love, I can just have a few quality pieces that I genuinely love. And this has led me today, like I'm on a journey, which I'm now calling, name pending, building my investment closet. I don't really like the idea of a capsule wardrobe because I find that limiting and like it's more about developing a personal style. But really, I'm just trying to bring in items that if I'm going to bring an item into my closet, it has to be something that I'm consistently going to be using 5-10 years, but not such a pressure that it has to be this item that I have forever. Like hopefully I do and something I really like, but really just trying to think of like, this is something that's going to last in my closet for 5 to 10 years. It's great quality and it's just something I'm investing in instead of just buying green because of Charlie XCX, which always tempting. Okay, I'm going to be honest, this one's kind of a lie. I did not read this one before I was 30, if I made that the title of this video. I technically read Lifespan by David Sinclair before 30 because Outlive by Peter Attia wasn't in existence then. But now, if I had to give a recommendation, up till Outlive came, I would have said Lifespan by David Sinclair, but now I'm going to say Outlive. And the only reason mainly is because Outlive gives a lot more like protocols versus Lifespan's a lot more like sciencey about longevity. So here's the main things I learned from Outlive. I have a whole video if you want to go more in depth about this. Is number 1, exercise is the best longevity drug we have. It's crazy. That and sleep, like that's all you need to take away from this video. Just sleep and move. But specifically, what kind of exercise? The habits I started implementing thanks to this book is the 4 pillars of fitness. Number 1, about 180 minutes of zone 2 a week, about 20 minutes of VO2 max training, weightlifting 3 to 4 times a week, about 45 minutes, trying to do every muscle group about 3 times, and then doing stability and mobility workouts about 10 to 15 minutes almost every day. And how it improved my life? My bone density improved, my energy improved, just like I feel younger. That's the craziest thing. Working on exercise in a balanced way like this is and I've said it time and time again, I thought it all was downhill at 25. And starting to train in this kind of balanced way with like all the little pillars filled, every year I feel younger, which is crazy. But if I let go, then I'm definitely gonna feel older. Book number 5, Essentialism. I read this because at the time my identity was minimalist. I was minimalist and this was in the minimalist category. So I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta read this. And I think deep down I knew like minimalism didn't resonate for me. Because guess what? I love stuff. I love fashion. I love tech. Like as much as I wish I could be one of those people that wants absolutely nothing and just, I'm not. And so I think like I would call myself minimalist, but deep down I'm like, Keltie, be honest with yourself. I try to be conscious, but now cue the book that made me stop calling myself minimalist because there's a better term for it, and that's essentialism. And pretty much the main lesson is anything in life, if it's not an F yes, it's F no. essential. When I was younger, I said yes to everything. And I think actually at that stage, you have to go through that. Like when you're in early 20s, just trying to get into career, passions, figuring it all out. When I read that book, I've been acting that way for years, just saying yes to everything. But at the time, I had found a little bit of success. I found some things I'm truly passionate about and my forever people. So saying yes to everything made me realize I was actually saying no to the most important things. Saying yes to a Tuesday night networking event meant I was exhausted in the morning filming YouTube. Saying yes to having a coffee with a random person meant saying no to visiting my mom. I know this sounds brutal, and I'm not saying you can never meet new people or go out, but it just made me realize every single time I say yes to little things that are not really fully aligned with my true passions, my health, and the most important people in my life, I am saying no to those things. So I still say yes to those things occasionally, but it's just like fast food. Yeah, you can have fast food occasionally, but don't have it every day. So it's like the fast food version of my time when I waste it on things I'm not really passionate about, don't help my health, and are just not the most important people in my life. It sounds really mean, but like I do think that way sometimes. Like, yeah, I could go to coffee with this random person, or I could call my mom. And sorry, I'm going to call my mom now. And I didn't before. And that's why I've got to make up for lost time. And that's how I improved my life. I just got better at focusing on what matters most. And so I don't call myself an essentialist either, but it's just, that's more how I live my life of stuff I buy, how I spend my time is like, what is essential? What is most important? And what is the opportunity cost of taking things on? What's the burden of buying these clothes that aren't going to be in my closet for a long time? What is the burden of wasting money on this vacation that I don't really love? Like, I just think about the opportunity cost in not just business, but everywhere in my life. And I'm not perfect. I definitely just, I sound like I'm perfect at all these things. That's what I'm trying to be. I definitely overcommit and spend too much money sometimes, but we're trying, and I'm a lot better. Number 6, Grit by Angela Duckworthy. The main lesson from this is grit, aka willpower, is like a muscle and you can build it. It's not something you're inherently born with. The habit I started because of this book. This unlocked a lot of big things for me because it made me realize when things are hard, I no longer think, no, that's a reason not to do it, because I realized doing hard things will build my willpower. The more you do hard things, the more you get uncomfortable, the more you prolong success, the more you just get better at having willpower. So I know next time I take on something hard, it will be easier because of just the hard thing I had to do in the past. And how it improved my life, I no longer see hard work as a hurdle I have to overcome because I realize it's either going to improve my willpower, so the next time I do it, it will get easier. So when something's like really hard, I just kind of tell myself, I'm like, you're just building a muscle. Tomorrow, this hard work will be lighter. And it applies to all things. Like I think about my workout, when the workout's really hard, I'm like, you'll be able to push through creativity blocks easier tomorrow. Or when I'm having like a really tough time and trying to learn a language, and I'm like, this is really tough. I'm like, I'm building grit. So when I'm in an early morning sprint tomorrow, it's going to be a lot easier because my willpower is stronger. And something about that just makes it feel a little less just hard for the sake of being hard. You're like, I'm building something. There's like a point to the hard. Number 7, The Little Book of Hygge. Danes, please correct me, but I believe I said it right. It's Hygge, not Hygge, not Hygge. 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 Anyways, I've learned a lot about Scandinavia living here in Sweden, and I was in Malmo, really near to Copenhagen, and then just now meeting a lot of Finns and people from Norway, like just learning a lot more about Scandinavian life. This might be one of my absolute favorite traditions I've learned so far. Next to fika. Don't worry, Swedes. I will never get citizenship here if I don't say fika is the most important thing. So forever no. Fika, fika, fika. Anyways, my main lesson is how other cultures have these beautiful words that we don't really have for a description in the language I have, which is English. So example, Japanese has ikigai, which I'm sure you've heard before. It's kind of like the combination of like find something that makes you money, that you're passionate about and helps people. And those are like the 3 different categories of a job, and your ikigai is something that does all 3. I butchered that, but that was really rapid fire without me looking it up. So what is the habit I started from this book? Lack of better terms, it's just making everything a vibe. And I know that sounds chronically online, but the reality is there's so many crappy parts about our daily life, and we just can't avoid it. So why not just make them less crappy? For example, as a summer lover, I grew up hating 80% of the year because I lived in a cold Canadian city, Edmonton. Hygge taught me that you can really lean into something and really creating an inviting atmosphere around something to make it enjoyable. So now instead of being sad, I can no longer see the sun in the wintertime. I'm just like, you know what? It's a lot funner to be inside working on your computer when it's cold outside versus the summer. It's like, oh, I should be outside. So just like lean into it. And that's how it actually improved my life. It made me fall in love with winter. Like outfits now, I think I really try and give that like luxury ski resort vibe. I think of wool sweaters, and I actually enjoy work now more because I no longer have that summer guilt. So I just make sure to make my office super inviting, make it feel cozy at the computer, have a cappuccino beside me, music in the background as I plug away on my computer. And it feels even better when there's a storm outside because I know there's nothing else I should be doing than plugging away on my computer, even though it's dark outside. So it's just leaning into making everything a vibe. Now that's not fully what Hygge is about, but that's kind of the lesson I took away from it. And I really just try to mindfully think of that is like when everything's kind of brutal, you're like, how can we just make this enjoyable? Like winter, how can you make winter enjoyable? Lean into the best parts of it. So if you're like, Keltie, like explain Hygge. We don't really have a word for it in English. Cozy is the closest, but it can kind of be one of two things. Think of it's a storm outside, you're inside cozy beside a fire, you got a nice soup going, and like the storms are brewing. On the flip side, it could also be like you have been hot outside all day, playing sports, running around, doing labor work, and then you jump into a cold pool and your friend brings you ice cold lemonade. They're both kind of the same feeling, like that sense of just like cozy satisfaction. And just try and make everything that. Like instead of being like, oh, it's so hot outside, be like, oh, the shower after is gonna feel so good, or you know, and just leaning into those things. Number 8, burnout. The main lesson I got from this was just purely the definition of burnout, which is a combination of emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and a decreased sense of accomplishment, aka constant output without reward. I think so many of us have been burning out over the last few years, and we're just kind of like, okay, am I burnt out? What the hell is burnout? And now I think I was like, have I been consistently just working and no reward, no sense of satisfaction, just plug in and day out. It's almost Groundhog Day. Because then it gets to be the point that you're like, what's the point of anything? And so just realizing what burnout is, I think just helped me identify it more so I avoid it more. And the habit I started because of it. Completing the stress loop. How I overcame burnout is realizing we can be constantly doing work or emotional output without completion. What activates the stress cycle? Think traffic, money, work, our kids. What completes the stress cycle is physical activity. And a great metaphor I think about is like, what would you tell your body that you're no longer running away from a tiger? And I have 2 methods to this. One, if my stress is more emotional work, like I've been at the computer all day and I'm just creatively empty, I really want to do something active. So for me, it's dancing. If I go to a workout class like at Barry's, that is more just about the endorphins and the music and the vibe, really something that like is physically moving with good beats. Like that's really just kind of need that outlet, that to end the stress of just being at my computer, creative output. On the flip side, sometimes my work is very active, so it's like a lot of moving and running in Barry's S class. And in that case, I do what would be the opposite of running from a tiger, would be stopping, slowing down, breathing. So it's sitting, being, reading a book, journaling, calling my mom, hugging someone, petting a dog. I know that sounds ironic, but literally go pet a dog. And also I start planning in things more long-term. Like if I'm working on a video that's really time consuming, months in advance, like I plan like my girls' trips, like that will be the reward. Go something like have that plan, like a big trip for afterwards when I'm doing those, and I try and plan things like that. But then of course it can just be small things in your day. Petting a dog, having a coffee, making a fun drink like Element, which is the sponsor of today's episode. And if you want a fun way to just have a little healthy habit that tastes delicious, it's a little moment to yourself. I love Element. It's my favorite electrolyte drink and it tastes delicious. And the best part is the science-based ratio of 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. You know what none of these books said? Low sodium diet, unless of course your doctor said that. But one thing that's been demonized for so many years is sodium. But if you're someone who's very active, like a lot of you on this channel, that's why I love having Element as a sponsor, because so many of you are into fitness, it is great to look into having electrolyte supplement if you're sweating a lot. For me, I know I'm getting about an hour of exercise a day, and so that's why I supplement with 1 pack of Element to replenish the electrolytes lost in my workout. This reduced muscle cramps, improved energy, and just less brain fog, and I absolutely love it. It tastes delicious. Like it's a little moment. I love the chocolate flavored one in the wintertime and just make it a vibe, make it warm. I have maybe blended it and added tequila to it to kind of make it a anti-hangover margarita. Have I done that? I've done that. I don't know if I can say that in ad read, but I've done that. And of course, I'm not going to tell you guys about something and not give you a code. If you go to drinkelement.com/Keltie, you'll get one of their sample packs with your purchase. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share with a salty friend. Once again, that's drinkelement.com/Keltie. Thank you, Element, for sponsoring this video. And on to number 9. Deep work. Main lesson is build routines into your work life that minimize your limited willpower. Habit I started because of this. Before, I used to think, 9 to 5. I still structure my day 9 to 5, even though I work for myself. And I used to think that meant to be a productive day, you had to work 8 hours at a just. But this book made me realize like that's impossible when it comes to deep, truly creative work. And I started viewing my work day as a bit more of like max out sprints and relax and max out sprint versus just like a constant marathon. So it made me really re-examine my day. When am I most creative? When am I most efficient with my work, and focus my time around then and take breaks. So for me, I realized I'm a lot more productive in the mornings, but after a workout. So I get some energy, I need to move a little bit, I'll go for a workout, then I'll come and work for like 90 to 120 minutes, solid, hyper focused, and then I'll take a breather. Because I realized what I used to do is I get into the flow, and the flow is important, but I used to have this idea of like once you're in the flow, you can't get out of it. And what I would do is I would continue working and working, like I'd hold my pee for hours on end, and then I wouldn't drink water, and then like I'd finally get out of this like 6-hour slump. And most of the work after 2 hours is crap. So it's not even that great, but like I would be so resentful of my work that when I had to go back to it the next day, I would procrastinate because I just left with that feeling of like holding the pee, dehydrated, eye strain. Versus now I'm like 90, 120 minutes. Of course, occasionally if you're in a real good flow, let it go. But for the most part, I think like 90 to 120-ish. I don't have a timer. Like once you start to kind of like hate something, you're kind of hitting that, take a break, take a step back, go for a walk, have a coffee. I'm not saying you have to go out for a long time. You gotta figure out what works for you. But I just realized I'm just gonna go outside, get some fresh air, have a coffee, come back. And it's shocking how quickly you actually get back into the flow. And how I improved my life, just simply less burnout, while also improving my output. And I realized every day I can show up and consistently do good work versus like, especially someone in a creative job being like, this day's great and the next day's horrible, and this day's great and the next day's horrible, and I need to take 3 weeks off and then hyper focus for 3 days. It's kind of like every day, in consistent hard work over time, which is the summary of every single one of these books, which actually will be my bonus tip before I go into number 10. I've read a lot of self-help books, a lot of business books, I've read them all. They're all the same. This one sentence: hard work consistently times time equals success. It's always the same. Just consistently find ways to do hard work every day towards something you like. Wait time. There'll eventually be opportunities. That's success in everything. And these books are great to find little habits so you can consistently show up and have the most energy and all this. But like, I need that reminder of like, I'm like, oh, I need the new it thing and this to like hack my learning so I can learn Swedish in 2 weeks. No, Keltie, you just have to show up every day and speak Swedish, and then one day you'll be able to speak Swedish. But consistently just speak Swedish every day and you'll get better. Okay, number 10, I'm just gonna lump as like my creativity books. Number 1, there's The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, which I mostly use as like, I didn't really read it, as like I open it every day and it's like a little lesson. There's also Creativity Inc. and A Curious Mind. I lump these as my like 3 creative books. They're all kind of give me the same lesson, so that's why I'm gonna bunch them together. But the main lesson is when you're stuck, go for a walk. And what I started because of this is not forcing creativity versus setting up my day so creativity naturally comes. So I used to think like just sit at a computer, things are gonna happen, or just start working. That is so hard to do. Just think like, it's like gun to your head. Think of make a Picasso. No, it doesn't work. But I started to realize like, when do I get all my ideas? On a walk. Some people it's in a shower. Some people it's swimming. Some it's a workout. I started to realize like, where are all my ideas? And they always come on a walk. All these YouTube, if you've ever seen me have a YouTube video that's done well, it was on a walk. That's where I came up with the idea all the time. Usually I'm doing a lot of research leading up to it, but I'm like brain dumping, and I'm like, oh, there's too much what to pick. I go on a walk. I'm like, oh yeah, you're picking that one. You just got to figure out what works for you. And therefore, I now view like my hawk or walk in the morning or after work as like an essential, and I have to build those into my routines versus like the grind culture of the 2012 where it was like sit down and work and grind it out. And I realized you're not going to make great work, and creativity and things like that. You just need to build systems that allow it like an athlete. And that's what a lot of these books made me start to do, is like use my knowledge, because I have like a knowledge-based job / creativity as a muscle. It needs to recover, it needs to be replenished, and you need to have moments to be in it. And so just building systems around my routine of how to figure that out. And for me, it's simply consistently showing up at the office every day, going for a walk before, when I'm getting stuck, taking a breather, going for a walk and coming back, rinse and repeat. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you're ever bored, and I don't know why you'd want to do this, but I'm going to tell you the answer anyways, is look at the amount of like authors, artists, all these just creative genius that just go on long walks. They all do. They all do. Sleep, move your body. It's the answer to everything. And those were the 10 books that improved my life the most and the habits I got from them. I'd love to hear down in the comments your guys' favorite book that you've read that's just impacted your life the most. And, you know, if you see someone did it, upvote it. Or something, it could be a fun little comment section. Just leave a tip you learned from it, and we can have a little like book club down in the comments. I think that'd be fun. And if you guys want any other kind of book videos, let me know, because I am a chronic book reader. I go through a lot. And I should say, sometimes I read, sometimes it's audio. I'm a big audiobook person because on my walks, that's where the ideas come from. And most importantly, the one lesson we did learn from this and the burnout cycle, because we're all burnt out right now, is go and pet a dog. So have a great day. Go pet a dog. Love you guys. Bye.